Hey guys, ladies and gents, welcome back. Today is day 2 of wrenching. I gotta make sure I got the dogs with me. So we're gonna get started on the F20, and I'll kind of show you the issue we're having with the tire not seating properly. Hopefully I can get the bead broke loose. Worst case scenario is I'll just have to take the rim and tire back off the tractor and lay it back on the ground and run it over with another tractor to break the bead. But the only thing that concerns me about doing that is tearing the tube. But this area here you can see is not seated, and it's actually not centered on the rim either, because if you look here we can see your guidelines on the side. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 guidelines here and none here, so it's definitely not centered on the rim. So we need to get this thing fired up and up to the garage, or the shop rather, and start working on the tire and the governor. So, open up the fuel. Hey, come on. Go. Throttle. Got gas coming. get this thing jacked up and we'll continue. Alright, well, we got the air out of it, and I used Domino let me borrow one of his, I'm not sure if this is if it's a tire spoon or what, but it sure worked like really well. So, but I got this in there. It's a pretty tall bar too, and if this tire's probably about 4.5 feet, almost 5 feet, that's almost a 5-foot bar. But anyways, got it in there. I broke the bead all the way around. I got the entire bead inside the drop center of the rim, rotated it to make sure that my guidelines all the way around were in the same spot. Then I slowly started adding some air to it, and looks like we've got it centered on the rim, which is good. I got it aired back up now and we're good to go. So now I just got to figure out this governor issue. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the entire crossover assembly off, and then I may take off the front cap to the governor. I'm not sure. Depends on how much room I've got to get in here. But I'll definitely take the top off here. I don't think I'll need to take this connection out. But let me get some tools together, probably 1/2 inch, 7/16 and 9/16, and we'll go from there. Alright, give me one moment. Alright. Probably gonna have to use a wrench on the inside. You know, part of the issue I might be having with this thing is the cylinder head probably needs to be done. Not probably, it does. And the manifold surface needs to be planed on the cylinder head as well. But you know, it runs okay for what it is. You know, a conglomeration of two different tractors, but in order to really run perfectly, it really needs to be, the head really needs to be gone through. So reworked, probably new valves and guides and seats and the whole thing. But I know this interior one is kind of a pain. So I don't know if I'm going to have to drop the carburetor or not. I hope not, but if I do, worst case scenario, it's not a big deal, but I think I can get it all apart without dropping the carburetor. Cottonwood trees are blooming like crazy right now. Flying all over the place, getting in my ears and my eyes, and alright, that's that. I can't get this one in the garage because the exhaust stack is too high, so I'm just going to put these back in the carburetor. See, the carburetor butterfly is working just fine, so it's got to be something to do with the governor here. So that's this side. Let's go over to the other side and work on that. I'm not sure if I can really mount this thing like I did on the other side, but we'll give it a shot. I don't know if you guys can see or not. You're kind of inside here, but well, let's see. Let's try pulling the front cover off the governor here. There's an oil line I got to disconnect on the front, so it's just what I'm working on now. Okay, that's disconnected. This would have been much easier to do without the radiator in place, but hopefully we can get it apart and back together again. Okay. Couple different things going on here, but we'll get it. Just want to be careful not to drop any of these nuts down inside the engine, because you really don't want to get them tangled up in the timing gears. Now, I'm not exactly sure how this all comes apart. This all seems like it's moving pretty freely. Let me pull this. Well, I pulled that crossover tube apart, or off, rather. And it doesn't seem like anything's binding in there. See, everything's moving freely. So that's not the issue. I don't know. Let's see here. Let me just try loosely putting this back in. And then I'll operate the throttle rod and look and see what's going on there. I don't know, let me play around with it for a bit. Let me pause the camera just so you guys don't see me just fiddling around, alright? Let me play around for a minute. Alright guys, well, I got the front of the governor tore apart here. I've got the thrust mechanism pulled out, and there is a washer on the back side of that thrust mechanism. It just slides off that shaft. I've got the front cover off. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to get it back on, but I got it off. So if I got it off, it'll go back on. But I think I found most of the issue. If you look, there's that little spring right there, and there's a cotter pin that goes through the weights. Those are each top half and bottom half, they're like a half moon weight, and then it hooks to the bottom weight with another cotter pin. So I don't know if you guys can see in there, but the weights move in and out to regulate the engine speed. Maybe if I move this, you guys can see better. But so that weight on the other side is missing the spring and pins. And as you can see, this spring is seen better days. It's not keeping them all the way in. So I think that is a big part of the problem. So I got to get a new spring for both sides and then put new cotter pins in. So hopefully I can do that without taking the whole magneto drive assembly off the tractor. I'm not sure if I can, but I'll try. So that's kind of where we're sitting with that. I'm not going to put it back together just yet. I'm going to leave it and see if I can't find some springs here laying around that I've got. I might have something that'll work. So let me do some digging and see if I can come up with anything. Alright guys, well, we've got 2 new springs and cotter pins in the weights here, so hopefully that takes care of our issue. Essentially, the springs are installed on the cotter pins like so, you can see that, and then you drop the cotter pins down through each hole in the, I'll see if I can get in here, in the weights, and it holds the weights together so that they separate and spring back from each other like such. Hopefully these springs aren't too strong. I tried to kind of give them the feel test. I pulled the spring that I pulled off apart to see what the the relative tension is, and then I did the same thing with a bunch of springs I've got here. So hopefully this works. We'll find out when we get it back together. So that's going to be the challenging part, though, is getting this thing all back together. Mainly just getting the governor arm back into the front cover for the governor. So we'll give it a shot, though. Worst case scenario is we got to drain the coolant and pull the radiator and do it that way. But I don't want to do it that way, so let me do some playing around and see if I can't get this thing finagled back in. Alright guys, well, we've got it all back together. Hopefully the springs aren't too strong for the governor. Let's try firing it up and see what happens. I forgot to put the rain cap back on. just wanted to see if the belt pulley works properly, so looks like it works. Within that sawtooth range. It seems that there's only let's see. I think if I adjust it here, why don't we go do that? Let's pull this back up to the garage and we'll adjust the throttle linkage here so that it is further back. Well guys, I took it for a quick test drive to check out the linkage. I did adjust it, as you can see here. Loosen that jam nut and then you just turn the throttle rod in or out of that yoke. So I adjusted it back, which brings the throttle lever back, which allows it to be in the range of the teeth. So now I'm in full range. But while I was driving it back here, I ran out of gas. So I'm gonna have to put some more gas in it and go from there. But for now, she sits where she sits. So I think that's gonna do it for this video. But we're making headway on the projects. This one here, I think we just got to figure out the carb issue. I think the float is probably set a little too high, which is causing the carb to kind of flood, which won't give me a very accurate idle or anything like that, because it's pulling fuel from the carb bowl instead of through the idle circuit. So for now, this is where we're going to end the video. As always, thanks for watching, thanks for wrenching with me, and we'll see you later.